Welcome back to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, the Hungry Dominican. Our next guest is one of the most amazing and inspirational people I've met off Instagram. She has a popular and beautiful page on the site. She's an amazing photographer who's worked with some incredible brands. She's the host of Let's Talk About It on Amazon Prime. She is the founder of Melanin Magic Brunch, which I've co-hosted with her twice. And she was my co-host for the Foodie Down Bronx panel back in April. Please welcome to the show, Renaissance woman Rosanna Añil.
What a great introduction. I feel so honored.
I am so happy that you're here with me. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so proud of you, Em.
Thank you. I really do mean that. I'm being very, very sincere. You are an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Because you are not just a positive person, but I see you hustle.
Yeah.
I see you put in a lot of work in what you do. I think the content that you create on Instagram, as beautiful as it is, people have to understand that there is an intent behind it, that there is a lot of motivation behind it. One of them being your daughter.
Yes.
I know she's a huge factor in what you do.
Yes.
And I want to start off by asking you about your page, but I want to do it in the sense that, do you think Instagram, if it had not been around, you still would have been on the same track that you're in right now?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, no. Instagram changed everything.
Right.
So many times I meet other people who are like on the cusp of starting their own entrepreneurial journeys or their own journeys in a creative field.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, they get discouraged because maybe they're a certain age or maybe they haven't had training or they haven't been doing it long enough. And it's just like we are in this digital space in this age where, you could literally make anything, do anything, advertise it, and make money.
Yeah.
I had a long career in hospitality management, working in hotels, restaurants, catering, banquets. I kind of ended that career in event planning and event management. And that's kind of like around the time where Instagram was really booming. And transitioning to a creative field, it didn't click right away, but I don't think I could have done this in another space, like in another time. I don't think I could have picked up the camera and dived into like food styling and all that jazz prior to Instagram. It really changed the game.
Were you always into photography though? Because your photography is amazing.
No. I didn't. To be quite honest, I was very much a businesswoman. Like I didn't think that I had any kind of creativity within me. And it wasn't until I became a parent and I decided that I wanted to work for myself that everything kind of just fell into each other. It just all aligned for me. And picking up the camera, not knowing how to shoot, not knowing, how to change the shutter speed or ISO and like lighting and composition and food styling, all of that came together in this beautiful alchemy of NYC Food Muse. It just kind of like clicked, and then I ran with it and I started taking off.
And so you've had no sort of interest in photography before. You had no background in photography before. When did you take that jump to fully embrace NYC Food Muse? Because I remember when I did it for myself. I was doing my 9 to 5. I was trying to figure out, balancing out the Instagram and my, so-called real life, I guess.
Yeah.
And I found that my real life, I guess, was getting in front of the things that I wanted to do. You fully embraced Instagram.
I did.
Did you have a moment when you did it? Was it like a particular, let's say, event, or you got hired for a shoot and you said, this is what I have to do 100%. This is me going forward.
I mean, I first want to say you were one of the first food accounts that I started to follow, and I was really inspired by what you were doing.
Thank you.
It's such a whirlwind. And like, to be quite honest with you, I was home caring for my infant, at the same time cooking meals, and it fell into this rhythm where like I was really composing dishes in my little kitchen in the Bronx, and I one day made a dish that was really beautiful, and I went to capture it with my phone, and it didn't do it justice. And, by just the luck of the universe, I happened to have had my sister's Canon camera that, using for another project, shooting on auto settings. And I decided to take it and start shooting the food that I was making. And I'm like, okay, maybe this will be a blog. Like, maybe this will just be something that, a stay-at-home mom can do on the side to just feel fulfilled, because everyone's living these glamorous lives on Instagram. And, the blog slowly turned into me wanting more, me thinking like, yo, I could make a business out of this. I could really like provide for myself and my daughter through this. And I literally took all of those photos from my little humble blog and decided to start submitting to gigs. I was first hired by Uber Eats. Then I started shooting for other apps like MealPal and DoorDash. And then through that, as I'm really getting into my craft, I'm focusing more on styling. I started getting more attention from brands and influencer marketing agencies. And it all kind of just fell together, and I really just started to just roll with it. I didn't even know what was unfolding, if I'm honest with you. It was really just blind faith.
Yeah. I relate to that a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't overthink anything that I was going through. I just sort of let it happen. And
the best
then
way.
yeah, it really is. You can't overthink anything really, especially like, in this world where things are just so fast. That the best thing to do is, it is a blind leap of faith, but you do it and you do it with good intentions. And then, the whole abundance thing, right? You just manifest it and it keeps coming and coming. So yeah, but I just wanted to make that point that I realized that there was a point in your page where, yeah, things were starting to change. And I hadn't even met you yet. And I realized that, wait a minute, she was home in the Bronx making food. And now all of a sudden I see this brand, I see that brand. Something must have happened. Something must have changed. And then you and I finally met a couple of years ago in one of the oddest places that I think. It's called, nothing against Tommy Bahamas, but this is like, it's a restaurant that's also a clothing store, which confuses me a lot.
They had great cocktails that night.
They had great cocktails.
I remember.
As you walk down like the extra men's shirt section, like the extra large, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's happening. But we met at this really interesting event where it took place in this Tommy Bahamas.
I can't believe you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, there were amazing cocktails, amazing shrimp, and some great sales.
Shrimp,
some really great sales. What is going on? But I recognized you, and I was a little bit timid, but I really wanted to like just talk your head off because I just wanted to ask you so many things. And soon after we met, that's when you hit me up with the idea of doing the Melanin Magic Brunch. So talk to me about that. Where did that idea come from? Because when you told me the intent of it, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, you're part of the influencer world, even though we are first and foremost content creators. Because we have a following of a certain amount, we're kind of looped into this influencer realm, and within that realm, we get invited to a lot of events. And what I was noticing is that in these events, I was maybe one or two people of color that were there, which isn't a big deal, but it did feel a little cliquey, and I was just like, I wanted to create an environment, an event in which we celebrated the creatives, people of color in the food and beverage industry. And that's really how Melanin Magic started. And I hit you up and I was like, let's do something for us, for our people, for, all of the amazing creatives that are out there capturing food or doing blogs or whatever their medium was, and just really celebrating them. And it was a huge success.
It was amazing. We did it. The first one was at the Bronx Public.
Yes.
And when you had messaged me and you said let's do this, it was something that even I knew in the back of my head was there was something missing in these events I was going to, but I don't know. I guess subconsciously I was like, I know what's missing, but I don't want to really say it. And then when you just sort of said it to me, I was like, you're right. It needs to be a little different for us because we're part of this big world, and yet we don't feel represented.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was so happy when you basically said to me, hey man, pay attention to what's not there. Right? Because it's easy to get blinded by all this amazing, food and stuff. But we'll continue that conversation when we come right back. All right, guys, grab yourselves a snack. Foodie Down Bronx. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm joined on set by Rosanna Añil, also known as at NYC Food Muse on Instagram. So Rosanna, we were talking about our first brunch together. We had it at the Bronx Public. We recently had the second one at Charlie's Bar and Kitchen.
Yes, that was amazing.
Amazing food, awesome time. I love this initiative that you started. I think it's necessary. I think it's awesome. You have to continue it. And of course, I would also love to continue co-hosting it with you.
Absolutely.
I also want to say, one of the reasons that I just love you is because
I love you.
you were you were also the person who said to me about the Foodie Down Bronx panel. I had this idea. This idea sort of didn't work out in one venue, but you said, don't stop with this idea.
No.
Let's continue to do this panel. Let's do exactly what you wanted to do. And then we flash forward to April 25th, and we are at the Port Morris Distillery. We had this amazing venue with amazing people. We had No Carne there. We had Empanology. We had Trill Cooker.
Yes.
We had so many people that night. And honestly, you know, when I talk to people about that panel, I always mention you because you literally were the person who, the same way that you messaged me about the brunch, you messaged me about this and you were
When
like,
I get
don't.
an idea.
Yeah, you were like, don't give up on it. So I wanted to thank you about that. Talk to me about your experience with the panel because that night was a beautiful night. It was really positive. A lot of people were just sort of psyched to be in a room with all of these great panelists.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience. So how, on your end, how was that experience for the panel like?
I mean, it was amazing. I expected nothing but the best from the influencers and the restaurant owners that we invited to come to the panel. I felt like everybody really got a sense of what we were really there to do. We were there to talk about how we can bridge the gap between this influencer, Instagram, social media generation and a lot of the restaurants and establishments that are in the Bronx so that we can get the right exposure. It was such a beautiful conversation. I felt like everybody came with really important questions. They came excited to learn. BronxNet also visited us and was able to shed some light on what we were doing. And now you have this show. And I think, the end result of all of this is really just about exposure, right? It's really just about connecting people to the good food. And the good food isn't always in Manhattan. It isn't always in Queens or Brooklyn. I love all the boroughs. But there is this borough that is buzzing with wonderful cuisines and wonderful restaurants that I feel with people who have statuses like us, we need to be utilizing it to showcase what's really happening.
I agree. I reached a point where I was like, all right, so I have this platform, and this platform's pretty great, and has a nice size following. It's got to be more about just going out and getting freebies because that's a nice perk and all. But what can I use my platform how can I use it in a more positive way? And so the panel was something that, you gave me that extra push. I had been hoping it would happen. It happened. And now, like you said, it leads to the show. And again, it's another platform for putting people on that need a voice in this borough.
Absolutely.
Whether you're from here and you've left or whether you've always been here, if your connection to the BX is sincere and strong and you're in the food business and you're in the influencer business, this is where I wanted people to come to.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much happening here in the borough. I wanted to quickly talk about your show on Amazon. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So season 1 is out right now. It's about 5 episodes. I visit different taco spots, different boroughs, trying all types of tacos from traditional to more innovative, more fusion cuisine. The real push behind the show was first my love of tacos.
Of course.
Also my love of just creating content. Having done a few on-camera stuff before, everyone was kind of giving me that push, like, Rosanna, you need to have your own show. You need to do your own thing. I partnered with a really awesome filmmaker named Marcus Reyes, and he had his own connection to Amazon Prime.
Right.
And it was just, we were able to kind of like sneak our way in there. The numbers are doing well. People are really responsive to the content. We're working on more content, more shows.
Fantastic. That's so awesome.
And it's turned into its own thing, and I've really just embraced it. I'm still doing my photography, still doing my food styling, but the hosting is really something that I've come into, and I feel you coming into it as well.
Oh man, I hope I'm doing okay.
You are amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I feel like, this is our time. This is our time to do it. If not now, then when? In a political climate where we are celebrating more and more diversity and people of color, like, this is our time to shine.
I agree. And of course, how can you, what better way to do it than through food?
Absolutely.
Right?
It's such a common, commonality. It brings people
literally
together.
brings people together.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what other goals do you have as an influencer? What else do you want to achieve with your platform? You've achieved so much already, but what else do you want to achieve?
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, obviously, I want to continue producing more content. I want to touch other platforms, Netflix, Hulu.
Awesome.
I want to branch out and host more influencer events, more panel discussions. I'm working on a panel discussion right now that I'm partnering with an amazing creative agency, and we're going to be hosting it at Port Morris Distillery.
Very
so
cool.
I'm going to let you know about
Such a great
that.
spot, yeah.
And basically, the panel is going to celebrate women of color in the food and beverage industry, but as business owners. So whether they have a product or a service or a pop-up location, and just really shedding some light, because women entrepreneurs are like the fastest growing group, especially Black women entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And this is the time. This is the time to really start showcasing that and sharing the knowledge, right?
Yes.
Because everyone's successful in their own right, but there could be another person coming up who wants, that inside information.
And they need to hear it.
They
They just do.
They need the representation. They need to see a reflection of themselves in other entrepreneurs, so that they get the confidence to do it.
I love that. That's awesome.
On top of hosting more events, really just getting myself out there. As I've kind of put myself in front of the camera, I've also gotten some really great gigs as far as like commercial and print stuff.
Speaking of that, you do have something coming up later this summer with BronxNet, right?
I do.
Tell me about that, please.
Yes, it's called Bronx Taste with NYC Food Muse.
Awesome.
It's about 5 or 6 episodes. It's going to premiere late this summer. I'm really excited about it. Marcus and I teamed up again. We hit up some amazing Bronx restaurants. We went to City Tamale. We went to Empanology. Where else did we go? We hit up a vegan Dominican spot that I know you're going to love.
Oh, yes.
Next Stop Vegan. We had so much fun creating this, and we literally did this in a matter of weeks.
Love that.
So I'm so impressed by the team and everyone. I can't wait. I can't wait to share this with you guys.
That's so great. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for all of your success. I can't wait for your projects coming up. I think you have just this amazing energy about you. And I think everything that's coming to you is well deserved.
I appreciate that.
I'm really looking excited. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of your more exposure.
Absolutely.
Of
There's
everything.
so much coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I'm just so happy for you. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me. This is such an amazing
You were supposed to
set.
be here episode 1, but you hustle, you work. So
it's all good.
so good.
I'll be back again.
We made it
got
happen.
Some plans.
We made it happen. Beautiful. All right, guys, to stay connected with Rosanna, follow her on Instagram at NYC Food Muse. Well, that's all for the show. Thank you again for tuning in, and thank you to our guests today, Josh Montalvo and Rosanna Añil, for joining us. Tune in every Thursday at 6:30 p.m., channel 67 and Optimum and Bios 33. Also tune in on the go at bronxnet.org or find us on YouTube. From BronxNet to the world, this is Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, the Hungry Dominican. Remember to feed your mind, feed your body, and if you see me coming along, feed me. Adios. Come, everyone.